My name is Fred Northup Jr. I'm thrilled to be here as your main stage MC. We are here for the AI debate, Tech Champion versus Planner Skeptic, sponsored by Zenus. We're very grateful. I'm going to kick things off by bringing out your host for this program. Lisa Schulteis is the founder and owner of Electrolyme Marketing and Your Event Marketplace. You all know her, of course, as the executive director of the Northwest Event Show right here in beautiful Seattle. She brings a wealth of experience in both live and virtual events. Throughout her career, Lisa has been a trusted partner for Fortune 500 companies, organizations, and associations, assisting them in achieving business growth and scalability through strategic incorporation of events within their marketing plans. So with that, everyone, make some noise. Please welcome Lisa to the stage.
Good morning. So I get the distinct pleasure of moderating this debate. I will tell you, I told them I wanted like Nerf battle rods up here. I didn't get them. I don't know why. So let me introduce Shawn real quick. Shawn is our planner skeptic. I don't know, who's a skeptic out there with AI? Raise a hand. Oh, only a few. You're going to have to convert people here. So Shawn's been a planner for a number of years. He is the co-founder of #EventProfsBreak. Really, we do?
Yes, we do.
Never happens. And he is here from Canada, correct? So thank you, Shawn. And then we also have, only if my clicker works, we have Panos over here. He is our tech champion. Where are my AI champions?
There we go.
So Panos, we've actually known each other for a few years. I call him a good friend. Shawn and I have just met recently, which is great. But Panos has been in the industry for a very, very long time. He is an ethical facial analysis expert and privacy advocate, which is a very important ad for that. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. Here's our first questions. How do I decide who's going to go first?
So Shawn is going first.
Shawn's going to go first.
I'll be timing him because he has only 4 minutes to answer.
Oh yeah, they're timing you guys.
We're going to timing each other, by the way.
There's no battle up here whatsoever.
No.
All right, first one. Do we need more, actually, do we need data, right? Or do we need more data for our events? Shawn.
All right. Can I start? Senior? Okay.
Go.
Well, so I think data is important, but I don't think we need more data. The reason is I think we already have a lot of data. I think the challenge as a planner, I'm a planner, so I think the challenge is to actually get better of analyze the data we currently already have. Because you hear all the buzzword about data, AI can help us generate this, generate that. I think for a planner, at the end, that just create additional hurdle for us. Additional hassle, unexpected or unnecessary pressure of you need to go through all those numbers. There's a reason for us not choosing a career of engineering. There's the reason that we like human connection. We like to crafting experience that drive business results or creating that special moment. That's why we're here. I think data is important. Don't get me wrong. I am data obsessed, actually, but I don't think we need more data.
That was only 1 minute. Nothing to add?
Yeah, because I feel I just need to throw the punch. I didn't need to spend too much time, right?
All right.
Are you rebattling?
It is my turn to
Go.
rebuttal. Well, let me start from the points we do agree that more data is not always better. Not always. Sometimes less is more. Now, with this said, you mentioned that events is mostly about experiences and human connections. And my argument to that is you can measure how successful the connections are, how important and meaningful the experiences resonate with people. And that's something that you should do in many cases, because an analogy I like to use is that when you launch a website for a new business, do you know anybody that doesn't have Google Analytics on their website? No, everybody's having Google Analytics on their website to know how much traffic they're getting, Are people clicking, liking, converting, and so forth? In a similar way, in the events, you spend tens, hundreds, millions of dollars putting together an event, and then you don't have data to go and improve and refine. If you cannot measure it, it doesn't exist. With this said, where we do agree is that collecting data just for the argument of collecting data doesn't make sense, because there is the pressure of putting more and more data in events, and if you don't have a strategy around it, I agree it is not very sensible. Ideally, what you want to do, you need to have a strategy, and you have to understand your own event. Usually, the bigger the event, the more data you need. If you have a meeting with 50 people, you can talk to them, you can get a feeling about what is working, what is not working. If you have an event with hundreds of people, thousands, tens of thousands, then you cannot be everywhere. Do you need more lounges? Is registration moving fast enough? Are the sessions working? When are they working? When are they not working? Is there enough traffic on the exhibitor? Are there dead spots? Do you need more chairs? All of these things, you need data to be able to measure and improve going from event to event. So we are very strongly believe that we need more data, but we also need a strategy on how to incorporate it and make changes. And this is where the budget comes in place. Because at the end of the day, you need to be able to support all of these things. So if you have an internal team which is data savvy and they can take the data and convert it into insights, perfect. If not, you should allocate a portion of the budget for a team, data analytics, that takes the data and converts it into insights so you can go and use them. We do know many examples where you have event organizers spending 100, 200K on things like RFID tracking, bill tracking, and then they don't do anything with it. It's not because the data is not important, it's because they don't have the budget and support to take the data and convert it into something. And I yield back to you, Son.
Well, you're actually like 3 seconds left. You're actually doing very well. But I do actually, I don't know, we're probably still on this topic, is I actually think the bigger the events, and I'm curious everyone's thinking about it, but the bigger the event, actually, the simpler the data needs should be. And I actually think the smaller the event, the complex question you should ask from your data point, because as a planner, I personally find it's more pressure and demands to create more customizations and personalization when the event is smaller. Every individual attendee weigh in more, like you probably have more on stake with every individual every individual attendee, compared with, let's say, a couple thousands, big trade show, big conference. Because of the volume of that much, you actually don't want to do too crazy data collection because you're just gonna confuse people. And then because of so diverse, then a lot of those data conversation might not make sense at all. You might just want to do as simple as possible so you can get the big picture. What do you think?
Do I have more time, Lisa?
We're totally off topic, but I only do like 1 minute when I do it.
I can take some of Son's time, if that's okay.
Well, I'm going to just mess everything up and add my own opinion here. Yeah. What I will say is, if you guys are going to collect data, it doesn't matter if you have a little data or a lot of data. If you collect it and you don't use it, we're actually having this discussion for no reason.
Exactly.
So please make sure that regardless, that you are actually using your data. So
I do want to argue back on Son on the personalization point. This is where technology comes into play and facilitates personalization at scale. We have things rolling out such as adaptive displays, which means somebody walks in front of, you have seen the displays around from Cloud Touch, where you can just go and you can see where's the next session, where's the schedule, and so forth. What you can do with AI and technology, you can personalize the content shown. So when somebody walks in front of it, they can see a personalized agenda. They can see a personalized message. So in many ways, you can get very fine-grained with the technology and offer personalized experiences. Other things you can do, and these things are starting to come, is the audience bored? Oh, sorry. Is the audience bored? If they are bored, then in this case, you can change the lights, you can change the music, you can create the tone. So in my opinion, Technology allows you to personalize the experience at scale, because if you have a small meeting, you can do that either way. What's the point?
All right, I'm going to move us on to our next question then. What is the best way to collect event data? I'm going to start with you this time.
Yes.
Are you timing them? Are you
Yep.
ready?
All right,
All
let's
right,
do it.
go.
Let's go.
Yep.
So I wouldn't say there's one way which is best, but there are some practices and best practices you want to implement. The most common way of collecting data is registrations, badges printed, surveys, and so forth. These are the things that most people know. What we usually advocate for, best practices on collecting data, is to combine multiple sources. So for example, you have some active things, the questions during registration, surveys after the event, surveys after sessions, but then you have some passive data. What we are doing in many of the events, including here, we have a technology to analyze the audience reactions to see where are the high points, where are the low points. There are sensors that you can see around the trade floor, where people go, where they don't go. And all of this information is collected, aggregated. And when you have surveys, RFID, Bluetooth, facial analysis, when you have all of these data sources pointing to the same conclusion, this is when you know that you have a hit. This is when you know you have a true insight. If everything shows it's a big success, high dwell time, high energy scores, high survey scores, that's what you should do more and double down. Wherever you have inconsistent data points and inputs, this is when you have to double down on the human factor, which is on-site observations. So the data alone is not enough to tell the story. You need to have on-site observations from the people at the event and combine and blend everything in. And Shawn, I will yield it to you.
Yeah. Well, you only use half of the minutes. Good job.
Thank you.
I think I think the best way to collect data is whatever way that your attendee will answer. And I think for different show, it's very different. For some people, and I think only you as the organizer can answer that question. And maybe the simple question is to ask yourself, with all the method, what is the response rate you get? Is your audience actually answer the survey you send to them? Or your audience actually answer it faster when it's right here? Is your audience like to get on an additional Zoom call after the meeting and then do a focus group? Or is your audience like to, when they walk out of the door and just stand in front of the camera and spend 10 seconds to say a few words? I think every event, you will know better what is the best way to collect the data. And once you find that, you should stick to it. I think another thing that I would recommend is kind of like an old saying when people talk about investment, right? Is don't put egg in one basket. And I think that is the way you should approaching the way you're collecting event data as well. Because everyone behave differently. Some people like to survey, some people like to talk. Some people simply just like the scale 1 to 5. Some people like to write a very, very long feedback document for you. And as an organizer, if your end goal is to collect as many data and as many useful data as possible, what you will need to do is, for one question, maybe consider try 2 or 3 different ways. So for example, maybe Lisa wants to know how this session go with the audience in here, right? So traditionally, you will put an evaluation in the event app, right? And you will like encourage people to answer the event app. Or it will be in a very long 10 minutes response time of the post-event survey. And one of the question is, what do you think about this? I think you should do both. But I think you should also do a simple thing like, for those who are listening, can you raise your hands that say you agree? Actually, raise your hand that if you agree we need more data. All right, raise your hand if you disagree. You think we have enough data. And I think that is the response you want right at the moment as well, right? You want to do multiple different layers to collect the data.
So If I may jump on this, Lisa, because you mentioned focus groups, you mentioned surveys and testimonials when people are leaving. And I'm not saying people shouldn't do that, but I also want us to be conscious of the limitations. How many people respond to surveys? So if you get a survey about this session, how many of you are actually going to respond? Very few. Just one person raising her hand. So very few people respond to surveys because you know what? If you have to respond to a survey about every single session, every booth you visited, every area you have gone to, it is just overwhelming. That's the reality. I get it, when I'm calling customer support and they say, stay on the phone for a survey. I never do. When you get a survey from your hotels, from the airline, how often? It's usually the very unhappy people and the very happy people about the service that respond, and you're missing everything else in between. So we do think it is very, very important to have, in addition to that, not excluding that, to add some passive tracking options. It can be the badge scanning, it can be the analysis of the audience, it can be tracking of an app, but you need to have more ways to track the actual experience of people. Because the last point I want to make is that people lie. Not on purpose, but people do. I was talking with an expert of focus groups in Europe, and what she was telling me, she was doing a lot of focus groups for very big brands. And what she mentioned was, based on all the focus groups, the private label products, the sales will be going up. But what we see in actual sales is that the store brand sales are going up and private labels are going down. And why this is happening? Because in focus groups, people want to look good, they want to say what other people are saying, they want to please. We want to give positive feedback. And what this focus group organizer did, she was paying people extra to go to people's homes after the focus group, and she was opening the cabinets and the pantry and the fridge. And what people were saying they were buying and what you would actually see in the houses was very different. So we have to be very careful on how we take the feedback and analyze it. And I think we need to have ways of collecting data that does not include what people say they think or feel, but how they actually behave. Behavioral data is very, very important in events.
So from the event planner standpoint, I'm going to say that's really difficult, right? Because we have questions that we need to answer that are just data points, right? Demographic data that we want to know, right? How did you hear about us? Where are you coming from? How far are you traveling? But then if we're also trying to ask questions in a way that meet people's needs, right? Like, you're going to fill out the survey. I'm not going to fill out the survey. I'm a horrible person with events. And if we're looking at different ways that we have to maybe do a survey here, maybe do a quick rating here, maybe do something here that asks the same question as an event planner, I'm like, oh God, no. Like, I don't want to ask the same question 3 different ways. So I think it's a good idea. But from a processing data point, that makes my head spin. I'm already tired, y'all. Like, I don't want to do it.
And that's what I don't think we need more data. The thing is we have enough data, and we just need to find a better way to use and analyze this. Actually, talking about survey, and I'm not sure how many of you are actually doing this, but I'm starting to do more segmentation of my survey. And so instead of when you open the survey, there's like 20 questions lined on the row for you, and they're all different. Right now, what I'm doing more is more like a conversation type of survey, which is it's starting with a simple question, are you happy or not? And if you say happy, then I will ask the follow-up question is, what does thing make you happy? If you're not happy, what other thing make you not happy? Or the not happy is, what can we do better? Right? And then because of that, then you feel, so you basically ask the same question, but you're asking in a different way. And I personally find that the result I get is more useful compared with just a plain data point.
All right, well, we're going to have to move on to our next question. Stay on time here. You and I have had this conversation. Where is the privacy line? Shawn.
Well, I think that the baseline is the person who collecting my data need to tell me what exactly they are doing. And I think that is a very challenging thing to do as someone who also as an event organizer, basically as a data collector in some way, is to basically spread out every time this is why the data is for. But again, as a human being who also as someone who a data owner for my personal privacy data, I think consent is extremely critical because that would make me willingness to give away my data, because I think we are all living a world that we are information overload, and it was really because we gave up our information too easily to other people. And I think as an event organizer, right now we do have the chance and responsibility to correct that. I feel Hiwa had a different opinion on it.
Not necessarily. It is a different way of framing it. So when we think about privacy, usually we think it into different portions. There's the legal aspects, and then there are the moral considerations. So let's talk about first the legal portion. I assume most of you have a phone in your pockets. You have stayed at a hotel, you have flown with an airline, you have a weather app on your phone. What is happening in most cases, all of this data is being tracked and is being sold, and I don't think a lot of people understand that your weather app data is selling your location to everyone. There are thousands of companies that are buying it. And that is legal because it is in the terms and conditions and the privacy policy of the websites. Go to Marriott, go to Hyatt, go to any big hotel and go to the privacy policy and see what data is being collected the moment you walk into the premises. It's insane. How many people are actually reading the terms and conditions of privacy policy? Nobody. You cannot spend time doing that for every single thing you do. So from a legal point of view, yes, you should collect consent, then yes, you should inform people. From a practical point of view, it is very hard to inform everyone about every single thing. So what we usually say is that try to minimize the amount of information you're collecting, especially when it can be tied back to a single individual. So this is what we call personal data. You can learn a lot about an event, you can learn a lot about an experience by analyzing and collecting data anonymously on a group level versus identifying individuals and just trying to tie into every single person. Because there's new technologies like IoT sensors, edge computing, and what these devices do, they can aggregate the information at the point of collection, like locally here, without storing or transmitting any personal data. So from our point of view, you have to do all the legal things. You do have to communicate to people what is being used with sign-ups, with terms and conditions, privacy, emails. But more importantly, when you build a tool, you have to make sure that it does not collect personally identifiable information unless you have to.
Any other thoughts on that one?
I think as a planner, like what Panos just said, I think they all sounds correct, right? But I think what I heard is that sounds a lot of work. That sounds a lot of step that you need to taking on. And I think that is something that, again, like we keep bringing this back is data important? Yes, it's very important. But I think that the baby step, especially for a lot of the event organizer, is well, how about like just starting from how to do better with the data we currently have? How about we do better with the current way of collecting those data? How about let's try to not create a new data collecting tool, but try to collect more data with the existing methods. And if that doesn't work, are there any alternative option we can do it? And I think like starting from what you already have and building on top of it, I think that's in my opinion, that is a better approach. It sounds safe, but you're probably gonna see the result and impact a bit more faster.
All right. Let's see here. We're just out about a time. I can't talk anymore, y'all. I haven't slept in a few days, so we're good.
So I think we're doing closing remarks, yeah.
Yep. So, Shawn, real quick, final word.
I I know I think a lot of here want to hear about AI, and I think AI do change one thing is it changed the conversation of data collection or data analysis. I think artificial intelligence, one thing is a potential benefit for us is it helps us to analyze the data we might collect faster. It might be able to automate better of the way we're collecting data. And I think those are what AI can potentially help us. But at the same time, AI right now still cannot answer the question that a lot of you probably have in mind is, will AI outsmart us? Which potential is if we keep feeding them the information like a lot of the big tech are feeding them right now. Or are they going to replace your job? Some of those are still a legit ethical question. Or would that actually cross the ethical line because of you automatically collect the data you don't even know about, right? So those are all legit and crucial questions need to be answered and discussed. But I do feel the way I approach technology is it's not about I like it or not. It's about the reality is I'm not in a position of say I'm going to ban AI in my life. That's just unfortunately not going to happen. It's just going to happen around me. And so what I need to learn and what I need to do is how to work around it. How can I work with it to make it work for me, not other way around.
All right, Panos, final word.
Perfect. So I will use a couple of examples of why the existing data and the existing methods, they're not enough. And this example like this is the FDIC, the Fire Department International Departments Conference. So this conference, they're having a lot of sponsors, exhibitors, and so forth. And what they did, they used a passive tracking technology to analyze traffic, bottlenecks, satisfaction, dwell times, all of this data. And what they realized was the first day of the event, they had a massive line at their key area, and they were saying, oh my God, this is so successful. We have a line full of people. They're trying to go to the activation. That's great. Well, actually, that is a problem. It means there's a bottleneck. And the moment the bottleneck was addressed and they were able to get the flow of people a little bit better, do you know what happened? The second day, the exhibitors and the sponsors, they got 66% more leads. Do you know what happens? This organizer is getting renewals like that. They're getting growing accounts, they're getting more sponsors, and so forth. You could have done all the service in the world, you could have talked to all the people, but unless you have the data to measure, dwell, energy, and everything else, you would never be able to see this coming. And many sponsors and exhibitors, they're starting to employing these technologies on their own because they have the pressure from their CMO, VP of marketing to justify the ROI of going to an event. And this data is crucial to have it as part of your event. So I do think there's need for more data. And if you work in the right way and smart, you don't have to do more work. If anything, you'll be doing less work because it makes your life easy. And AI in general, just the same thing with the Industrial Revolution, online banking, all of these things, they amplify our ability to do things. They don't replace us entirely. It amplifies our ability to do things.
All right. So we have used up our time. However, we want you to scan this QR code and submit your opinion. And then also, if you have any questions, if you want to continue this conversation, both Shawn and Panos are going to go over to the speaker meet and greet lounge. That is over just past those amazing light tubes over there. So just go through the tunnel and you'll find the speaker meet and greet tube. Oh my gosh, seriously. Booth. Booth is a hard word today. So please go over there and meet with them. And then we'll have another panel this afternoon, which is what is AI good for anyway. So be sure to join in on that. But Panos, Shawn, thank you both for your opinions. Thank you for your time. Can we give them a round of applause, please?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.